Hi everyone, it's Katrina. From disused power stations to ghostly train depots, here are 8 creepy abandoned places in Europe. Number 8. Battersea Power Station, London. There are 2 identical decommissioned coal power generating stations at the Battersea Power Station in South London, which is located along the Thames River. The first station, known as Battersea A Power Station, was built in the 1930s. The second, you probably guessed the name, Battersea B Power Station, was constructed during the 1950s. Battersea Power Station is one of the world's largest brick buildings. It's also known for its Art Deco decor and interior fittings. Power production officially ended in 1983. In 1980, the now disused station was designated as a Grade 2 listed property, which affords it special protections from destruction and alteration. And in 2007, its status was upgraded to that of Grade 2 asterisk, which provides additional protections. The British government exercises extra control over both the interior and the exterior of Grade 2 and Grade 2 asterisk listed buildings, and their attached structures and fixtures. Despite being a protected property, the Battersea Power Station went unused for more than 30 years, and in 2008, its condition was described as very bad. Numerous proposals were made to repurpose the Battersea Power Station. After all, isn't it better to modernize a monument rather than let it sit there and rot? One proposal, which was rejected, suggested turning the site into an amusement park. The battle to update the property was eventually won, and it is currently being redeveloped as a multi-purpose site for restaurants, offices, homes, bars, and open space. Around 250 of the units will be part of the original structure, and soon, the site will no longer be an eerie reminder of the past. Number 7. Wola Gasworks, Poland. The abandoned Warsaw Gasworks, also known as the Wola Gas Company, is one of Europe's and perhaps the world's most pristine examples of late 19th and early 20th century industrial architecture. You know, if you're into that kind of thing. The neoclassical structures that make up the complex were built in 1888. They were destroyed during World War II in 1939 and were thereafter immobilized. After the war, the structures were rebuilt, and their doors were reopened on June 25, 1945. As the city of Warsaw transitioned to a natural gas supply in the early 70s, however, the buildings were once again closed. Part of the site hosts a large museum which was opened in 1977 and details Poland's history of gas production. The museum is located in what used to be the compressor and pump building. Here you can see things like photographs, gas lamps, era-appropriate home appliances, and original machinery. The rest of the site's buildings, including the magnificent rotunda or coliseum, remain unused and decrepit. Although poking around the overgrowth and broken glass-ridden property, which contains surveillance cameras, is forbidden, explorers and photographers are nevertheless drawn to it. If you're not brave enough to try hopping the fence and exploring the abandoned sections of the site, which I don't recommend anyway, you may as well visit the museum. After all, admission is free, and it's supposedly very interesting. Number 6. Patarei Prison, Estonia. On the outskirts of the old town of Tallinn on the north coast of Estonia lies Patarei Prison. It was originally built as a sea fortress in 1820, but was used as a high-security prison facility by the Soviets during their occupation of the country from 1944 to 1991, and it was considered one of the scariest places in Estonia. At any given time, hundreds of prisoners resided here, many of whom were executed. The prison housed both hardened criminals and political dissenters, and was also used for KGB interrogations. One can only imagine what else went on behind closed doors. Patarei Prison was abandoned in 2004 when Estonia joined the European Union. Since then, very little has been done to maintain or restore the building, and it's now open to the public as a museum. Visitors can essentially experience the prison in the exact state it was in when it was abandoned, minus the toll taken by time, right down to the books and magazines left behind by prisoners in their cells. Estonian-Canadian sisters Lisa and Kristen Dobbin visited Patarei Prison during a quest to learn more about the culture of their ancestral country. In a blog post for Estonian World, they likened the facility's appearance to a Stanley Kubrick film. In their words, a dark psychological thriller about loneliness and lives misspent. The sisters also described feeling overwhelmed with feelings of dread and anxiety as they toured the prison. One of the most disturbing parts of Patarei Prison is the operating room, which supposedly still carries a distinctive, unpleasant odor. Inside this room, there's an old bedpan, glass bottles that presumably once contained medical fluids, and outdated equipment, leaving one to wonder what types of experiments may have gone on in there. Number 5. Argentiera, Sardinia, Italy. Argentiera was a silver and lead mining town on the Italian island of Sardinia that thrived into the 1940s. Silver had been mined here since the ancient era of the Romans and Phoenicians and was an important commodity within the Roman economy. The mine was closed at some point but was reopened during the 19th century by a Belgian company. At the onset of World War II, Argentiera became a bustling town. However, production fell post-World War II as ore reserves began to run dry, and in 1963, the mine was permanently closed. The town of Argentiera was subsequently abandoned. Some of the abandoned buildings have been restored, but only a small part of the town is inhabited today, and most of its businesses are tourist-oriented. Argentiera is part of the UNESCO-designated Geological Mining Park of Sardinia. Number 4. Geamana, Apuseni Mountains, Romania. Located near Geamana, the Warsaw Poeni mine was once Europe's second largest copper mine and employed around 500 people. During the 1970s, copper was discovered in the hills above the Romanian village of Geamana. In the spring of 1977, the villagers' lives were turned upside down as representatives and prospectors working for the then dictator Nicolae Ceausescu arrived and essentially told them to pack up and prepare to move elsewhere. Residents were offered a measly $2,000 for their homes, and between 300 and 400 families were ultimately scattered throughout Romania. At its prime, the mine produced 11,000 tons of copper annually, and with a lot of production comes a lot of waste, which is why Geamana's residents were more or less kicked out of their village. Geamana was replaced with an artificial and highly toxic lake full of sludge and runoff from Warsaw Poeni. The lake, which contains dangerous chemicals such as cyanide and is a bright red color due to the toxins it contains, has engulfed almost the entire former village, with its church spire sticking out of the water as a saddening reminder of what used to be. Number 3. Burlington Bunker, England. This 35-acre underground property in England was kept a complete secret from the public until it was decommissioned in 2004. Unbeknownst to even the local population, it was located 100 feet underneath the churches, homes, and cobblestone streets of Corsham, a quaint market town in Wiltshire. The already existing set of limestone caves underneath the small city made it an ideal location for the bunker. At any given time, it accommodated up to 4,000 central government employees and could support them for up to 3 months with no outside contact. The bunker was supplied with water from a nearby lake and was equipped to treat the water to make it safe for drinking. The Burlington bunker was built during the 1950s, during the Cold War era, and was bomb-proof, radiation-proof, and poison gas-proof, and it was designed to enable government employees to continue working in the event of a nuclear attack. It also was home to England's second largest phone exchange for 30 years, although it was unused. Since the Burlington bunker was designed to be both worked in and lived in, it contained numerous amenities, including kitchens, offices, laundry facilities, supply rooms, cafeterias, and a hospital. There was also a television studio that would enable the government to broadcast public messages if the need arose. For correspondence within the huge complex, there was a pneumatic tube system. Everything you could ever want. Number 2. Ciudad Real Central Airport, Spain. When you think of creepy abandoned places, one of the first things that probably comes to mind is an old, decrepit building. However, that's not always the case. Located 120 miles south of Madrid, Spain, the Ciudad Real Central Airport was in operation for just 3 years before it closed in 2012. Ciudad Real was the first privately funded airport in Spain and was planned and financed during the construction boom that occurred during the late 1990s and early 2000s. The airport finally opened after the global financial crisis of 2008 had set in. International flights to and from Ciudad Real Airport didn't begin until June 2010, and even then, all that was offered was a sole Ryanair service to London. Months later in October, Ryanair's flight service in and out of the airport was cancelled. Domestic flights continued until 2012 via other airlines. The airport had been intended to accommodate overflow from the airport in Madrid, but was inconveniently located a 2-hour drive away, and no rail station was ever built there. In the aftermath of the airport's bankruptcy declaration, some critics speculated that the facility had been built solely to serve the construction industry's interests. Enough loans had been taken out to cover the construction costs, but nobody had invested in the necessary funds to turn the airport into a functioning business. Number 1. Czestochowa Train Graveyard, Poland. In the city of Czestochowa in Poland, there's an abandoned train depot that was once a bustling transportation hub that connected the Warsaw-Vienna Railway with the rest of Europe. The railway opened in 1846 and is one of the reasons the city became one of Russian Poland's leading industrial centers. Czestochowa is still very much a busy city and popular tourist attraction. It is home to around 240,000 residents. The former station was abandoned simply because 6 other ones were built throughout the city. Today, the disused station and yard are home to an eerie population of aging rail cars that have also been taken out of service. The site stands in stark contrast to the rest of the city, including its more modern and currently operating train stations. There's a long-standing debate among sophisticated urban explorers about whether the site is a genuine train graveyard or a neglected part of a large depot. Technicalities aside, it's fascinating in its own right and draws many off-the-beat travelers hoping to catch a glimpse of something historical that was not intended as a tourist attraction. Europe has a rich and lengthy rail history, and there are therefore numerous other creepy transport graveyards throughout the continent, including a yard of locomotives from the Iron Curtain days in Brandenburg, Germany, a Soviet-era locomotive graveyard in Krakow, Poland, and a train repair shop turned air raid shelter in Budapest, Hungary, just to name a few. Thanks for watching! Would you ever visit these creepy abandoned places? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon. Bye!